again, Mark here from Talkingbass. This week we're going to look at one of the most innovative bass players of the last 10 years. In case you've been hiding under a rock and haven't heard them, Royal Blood are a UK two-piece rock band with a massive sound. Mike Kerr is the frontman, vocalist and bass player alongside drummer Ben Thatcher. So yes, that's a bass player and a drummer creating that huge sound that can rival the force of a 4 or 5 piece metal band. No, it's not studio trickery, they're even heavier live. So how does Mike do it with that one bass? Well, that's what we're going to look at today. I'll show you how to create the Royal Blood tone in as simple a setup as possible, and stay tuned to the end when I'll be showing you how to apply all of this tone to the hit song Figure It Out. So just before we get started, remember to smash that subscribe button and hit the bell to get reminders for lessons every Friday. There are over 500 Talkingbass lessons here on YouTube on every bass topic imaginable, so be sure to delve into all the resources that we have here. Also, remember the lesson material including the tab is all there over at the Talkingbass website, so just click the link in the info below and then sign up to the free Talkingbass membership, where you'll find a ton of learning resources for bass and a community of over 100,000 players in the forums and groups, so go check it out. So, how does Mike Kerr create this amazing wall of sound with just a bass guitar? Well, the not-so-secret fact of the matter is that he's splitting his signal and sending it to multiple amps. That way, he can have a regular bass sound through one amp and then various affected signals in the other amps. So through one amp, he might have something like this. Then through the other side, he might have a regular bass guitar like this. Then you put them together and you get something like this. Now, most of you out there aren't going to have access to signal splitters and 3 separate amps, and the truth is, you don't need to. You can get the same kind of effect by using a few pedals and a single amp, which is what we're going to do today. So first things first, let's have a look at this bass. Now Mike Kerr has several different basses in his arsenal, and this is one that you'll see him playing time and time again. It's a Gretsch Junior Jet 2. It's short scale, so it feels very guitar-like, and it has a very particular kind of sound. Played with fingers and using either both pickups or the neck pickup, you get a lot of bottom end. Then playing with a pick on the bridge pickup, you get more of a pronounced twang and a much more defined kind of tone. And this is the sound that we're going to use. Mike plays with a pick, and because short scales often have less string tension, you can get those guitar-like bends and vibrato very easily. And the other plus side to this bass is that it's pretty cheap, so if you really want to go for the Royal Blood vibe, I can't recommend this enough. So next up we're going to look at our effects. Like I mentioned, Mike Kerr splits his signal and sends it to 3 different Fender cabs. He then often uses the overdrive of the amp for his basic distorted guitar tone. Instead, we're going to use 5 pedals. We've got a Boss LS2 line selector, 2 Electro Harmonix POGs, a Big Muff distortion pedal and a tuner pedal. That's it. The line selector acts as an effects loop, so we can split the signal and then run both signals back into one amp. The POGs are octave pedals that we can use to make one signal an octave higher than the original for the guitar sound. The Big Muff is used to distort that octave guitar sound, and then the tuner is the only pedal on the bass signal side that we use simply as a kill switch for when we want the guitar soloed. So let's break this down one pedal at a time. First, we have the line selector. This is the first pedal in the chain. Now, the LS2 has a bunch of different modes, but we're going to use one mode that you'll see as the A plus B mix. This combines the 2 signals so we can send them to a single amp. There are 3 inputs and 3 outputs on the pedal, which can all look confusing at first, but it's actually really simple. First, we've got the basic in and out like any other effects pedal. Those are the bottom sockets labeled input and output. So your bass goes into the input and then the output goes to the amp. Then for the other sockets, you'll see send and return for channel A and send and return for channel B. Let's say we're going to use channel A for our guitar sound and channel B for the bass sound. We come out of the send to our first guitar effect, in this case the POGs, go through the distortion, and then we just go back into the return. That's our channel A. So send to the guitar effects and then back into the return. You'll probably need some fairly long patch cables to do this properly on a pedal board because you've got to come all the way back from your last effect to the return. You'll also want to make sure that all these leads have right angle connectors because things are going to get a little bit crowded around that line selector. I'm using EBS flat effects cables that you can get on Amazon. Next, I'm going to use channel B as the bass channel. So again, come out of the send, I go into the tuner and back to the return. That's it. So set the mode to A plus B mix so that they're both on at the same time, and the main output is going to take all of that in one signal to the amp. The two volume controls can then be used to blend the two sides together. I've just got them both at 12 o'clock. Okay, so now we've got those signals, let's check them out. All of the effects are off at this point, so we just have two clean bass signals. If I hit the tuner, it mutes channel B for the bass channel, so we can just work on the guitar sound. Next, let's have a look at the POG pedals. Now, I'm using two. One is the Micro POG and the other is the POG 2. I'm going to use each one for a different sound, never together. The Micro POG is for our standard default guitar sound, and for this, I'm setting the octave up to full and everything else at 0. That way, we just have a sound 1 octave above the original with nothing else. Now, on the face of it, this can sound pretty lame. POGs are digital effects that track perfectly, but sound, you know, pretty digital like this. But all we have to do is add the distortion, and voila, our bass turns into a raw, crunching guitar. I'm using an Electro Harmonix Big Muff Deluxe bass distortion here, but you can obviously use any distortion or overdrive that you like. Mike Kerr uses the natural overdrive of the amp to get that raw grinding sound on Figure It Out, but obviously just experiment with different pedals. Here I've set the sustain about 1 o'clock and the tone about 12 o'clock. The second POG is a POG 2 that allows us to have a signal both 1 and 2 octaves higher than the original. I've set both of those sliders to maximum with everything else on 0, and again, on its own, it sounds pretty lame. But add distortion and we get this almost distorted organ-like effect. This is going to come in useful on the instrumental section to figure it out. As I said earlier, I only use the POGs in isolation, one or the other depending on the tone required. So that's the guitar channel taken care of, and on its own, it sounds pretty cool. But when I click the tuner pedal to bring the bass in, we get this. This is how Mike Kerr can build a wall of sound with his bass. By splitting and creating both bass and guitar signals, you can add whatever effects that you want to either side. And like I said, Mike takes it one step further by using 3 separate amp channels to get a huge layered sound. For today, we're just looking at the easiest way to achieve his tone with just 2 channels and 1 amp. Okay, now let's have a look at a few riffs from the song Figure It Out. This is a great song for working on this setup and it features quite a bit of switching between sounds. So first up we have the opening riff that sounds like this. So we begin with a basic pedal line on an open E string with a bit of palm muting. Okay, so just get that down first. So I'm using the palm here to lay against the string as a pick, and we're playing fairly staccato, so we're choking off each note, which I'm doing with this hand. So if I didn't use this hand for the staccato, so a subtle difference, but we're just cutting the notes short. So we have a bar of that pedal, and then when we get to the and of 4, we're going to have this move. Okay, so we're just playing the open E string and playing 2 hammer-on and pull-offs to the D at the 10th fret of the E string. Okay, so open E, hammer-on, pull-off to the open string, hammer-on, pull-off. And then we'll come back into the crunch, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then we have another bar of the pedal, but on the second time, instead of the 2 hammer-on and pull-offs, we just have 1. Okay, so all of that. And bear in mind that for those hammer-on and pull-off moves, we don't use palm muting, so we get more of an accent. So. Okay. Now, when the vocals come in, we play through that twice, and on the second time, instead of moving up to the, we actually shift to this descending chord progression. Okay, so we're coming down A, G, F sharp, F, so 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st frets on the E string, and then down to the open string. So again, staccato with palm muting. For the left hand there, you can just use one finger. And remember, when we come back to that open E string, we're on an off beat. So you play through that riff for the first verse, and then when the drums kick in, we get to bring in our bass channel by hitting that tuner pedal, which sounds like this. Next, we have another guitar-only riff in the lead up to the chorus, which sounds like this. So you want to engage that tuner pedal again, so we're muting the bass channel, and we're going to play this line. So we're simply taking the D there, 10th fret of the E string, playing that, pulling off to the open E string, and then hammering back on. So just a little trill. So once you've picked the initial note, you can just hammer on and pull off with this hand. So. Okay, and I'd also make sure that you're muting the A, D, and G strings there so you don't get any residual noise. So. And then we simply work down after we've played a full bar of 16ths, move down to the D flat, C, B. So we're just working down one fret at a time, okay? Back up. For the chorus, we've got both channels on, and it sounds like this. So you can follow along with the on-screen tab. We just start on the open E string twice. Then we've got the F sharp, pull off down to the open E, then up to the 3rd fret G there. Played twice. Open, pull off to the open string again, and then slide up from the G up to the A. Then hit the A, pull off to the open string again. Then G, E, 3rd fret down to the open string. And then D down to the A, 5th fret on the A string and E string. Back to the start. All of that can be played with pretty much the first finger, the index finger, but be aware that when you move up to the D and then down to the A, you might need to do a little bit of muting here, so you might want to move over with the thumb to block off that E string. So when we go to the D at the 5th fret of the A string, I'm using the thumb there, bringing it round to mute off that E string. just to make it a bit cleaner. So we play through that 4 times, but on the 4th time, instead of the single, we played that 3 times. And then 2 8th notes on them, and then just jump up to the 12th fret of the E string, hit it, and slide down. And then we're back into the crunch. On the 2nd time, we hit that D at the 10th fret of the E string on an offbeat. Okay, so. Okay, so let's have a listen to all of that again with the kit. For the middle 8, we're going to use the POG 2 sound that includes that 2nd octave. So POG 1 off, POG 2 on. So we've got the bass channel off 2 and we get the following. So here we're playing the D, 10th fret of the E string. So then we have D, E, D, so that's 10th, hammer onto the 12th, pull off back, then down to the D flat at the 9th fret. And we're just going to work our way down. So, and then 2nd time, we've got the 9th fret to the 12th fret, so the D flat to the E. Again, hammer on and pull off, sliding down to that C, then again C, E flat, down to the B. So, after the B, we've got this ascending run. Okay, so we're going to have the open E string, and then we're just going to be playing hammer on and pull offs again from the G at the 3rd fret, just chromatically all the way up. Okay, so 3rd fret, 4th fret, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. When we get to the 9th, we just play the 9th, and then we hit the D at the 10th fret. So. And we're back where we started. So all of that slowly. Okay, and if you want to, on that ascending run, you can just play all of that with one hand, which Mike Kerr often does. So we get, and then you can just hammer on from the D flat to the D. So again, with the drums. Finally, we have the awesome riff from the end of the tune. Here I'm using the POG 2 sound, but adding the bass channel to get this. So in terms of the notes, this is a pretty straightforward riff. We're starting on the G, 3rd fret of the E string, then dropping down to the open E. So then we're going to chromatically work up from the A flat there at the 4th fret, pulling off each time. You want to pick on each one of these notes as you're rising up just to get that attack. So all the way up to the D at the 10th fret, okay? So we're picking and then pulling off, so there's not, we don't have the hammer-ons here. Then as soon as we hit that D, we drop down to the G for the offbeat, so you've got to really jump down fast from the D back down to the G at the 3rd fret. Okay, so you play through that 4 times and then you just play these groupings of 2 open E's. Just played 3 times. So all of that together. So one last time with the drum track. So remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, then let me know what other Royal Blood songs you'd like to see me cover in the future. The lesson material is all there over at the Talkingbass website, so get on over there, get practicing, and I'll see you next week.